Good morning. So tell them to arrive fast. So last class, uh, we are discussing about group communication, that is multicast communication. So what is a multicast? How you identify a multicast? There are two ways. One is through computer networks IP addressing mechanism. That is 1110. If any IP address begins with 1110, then that is nothing but it is a multicast address. Okay, that is one way of doing the multicast communication. Okay, and we can do multicasting in. There are two types of multicasting: permanent and temporary. Permanent means zero size, whereas temporary means there are few members in the multicast group. Okay, that is about the temporary multicast and permanent multicast. Okay, and yeah, and also you have discussed about the multicast addressing and multicast routers. So in WAN, that means internet, how multicast happening through multicast routers, and also you have discussed about multicast address. So 224.0.0.1 to 224.0.0.255. So that is a range of IP addresses through which the that is a range of IP address through which actually the multicasting addressing is supported. And also you have discussed about multicast. I mean, what are the failure model of multicasting? Okay, and failure model is same as that of the UDP datagram model. That is omission failures, and other one is channel. Omission failure is one type of failure, and other one is channel failure. So the same set of failures also being done by the same set of failures being done by this multicast communication. Okay, and regarding how to enter into there is a session directory. Okay, there is time to TTL. So TTL is small. That means we can TTL is small means TTL is small means we can limit the distance of propagation of multicasting. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, so that is what. So that's it. So that's what we have discussed in the last class. So, and it also suppose if not all the process in the multicast group is not receiving the message. That means there is nothing but unreliable communication. Okay, reliable means every process should receive the message, whereas unreliable means only few can receive. So that is about the reliable and unreliable communication. Okay, and regarding the and now we will see one program, that is Java API. So Java API for multicast. So as shown in the slide. So as shown there here, as we know, in UDP we have taken two classes. One is datagram packet and datagram socket. So instead of datagram socket, what we are doing is multicast socket. So that's the only difference between UDP and multicasting. Okay. So multicast socket is the multicast socket is the thing. Multicast socket is a class which we will use for multicast communication herein, and same send and receive we will use. Okay, and yeah, yeah, that's it. So and also there are two types of classes here. One is a multi-cache socket, and another one is datagram packet. So as you know, so in order to communicate in order to send a message, so first message has to prepare. So first identify the host to which we have to send the message. So that is a destination. So that can be, I mean, we can get the host name by simply asking the method get by name. So what is the method name? Get by name. So through that only. So at actually we can get the IP address. Okay, we can get the IP address of the domain name of a particular host. Okay, so that is about the INET address. So INET address is address we have learned about this. We have learned about this INET address. Okay, in sockets. So in socket concept in sockets in unit 2, so we discussed about this INET address. So INET address contains a method called get by name. So get by name. So if any IP address you pass, that means DNS name you pass, it will return the host name. Host name. It will what it will give? It will give the host name. It will give the domain name address. Suppose if suppose if there is no DNS associated with it, then simply it will give unknown host. Simply it will return unknown host. So that is about this get by name. So from the get by name, you will get the internet address, and from the multi-cache socket, here it has two things. Either we can pass. There are two things in. It provides two constructors. This socket, multi-cache socket provides two constructors. So so either you can use a special port or any so that the sockets can be bound to the port. Okay, so this is a way of binding the port 6789 to the multicast. Okay, and a process can join a multicast and leave a process. So a process can join a multicast using join group. Join group. So that is another thing here. See here, datagram socket. So this is nothing but leave the group. So as shown in the slide, a process can join the, see here, a process can join the multicast group by using the join group method. So this method is available in multicast socket. Multicast socket contains two methods. One is join group, another one is leave group. So join group means if any process wish to enter into a multicast, then it will invoke the method called join group. Okay, clear? Other than it. So by invoking the join group, so it will simply invoke the join group method. Okay, so that's about the join group method. And as you all know, so datagram packet contains a constructor, so which ends of 4 arguments we will pass. We want to send the message, that is message out. This message out contains 4 arguments. One is actual message itself, and second one is message length, and third one is the address, IP address. So like 226 dot like that. So 228.5.6.7. So that group address, multicast group address, we will give, and also you provide the port address. 4 parameters for a message. One is the message itself, length of the message, IP address, and port. IP address means multicast address. So multicast address usually in the range 224 to 228.5.6.7. That is also multicast because the first 4 bits are 1110. Okay, 1110. So that is about this packet. So this packet we want to send to all the other process in the multicast group. So that is possible using this send method. So this send method is present in a class called multicast socket. Okay, send method is present in multicast, and join group is also present in multicast socket. Leave group also present in multicast socket. Clear? So this is about the so if you see here, why we are putting the loop? So that means 3 messages you want to send to the group. So that's why here there is a group called here so you want to send a group. So that's why we are taking a loop here. Why? Because you want to send 3 messages to the group. So for I equal 0, I less than 3, I plus plus. Okay, and message in. So in order to receive the message at the multicast address, what you say buffer and buffer dot length. So that is another packet message in. So which contains of buffer and buffer dot length. So as you can see here, there are two types of constructors for datagram packet. Either it accepts 4 arguments or it accepts 2 arguments. And once you put the buffer into message, what the next thing what you will do is simply receive the message. Next thing, see here, yes dot receive. So receive the message in. Okay, clear. So this is about the it is at the multicast side. Okay, clear. And if any process wants to leave from the multicast, simply call the group leave group. Simply call the method leave group. So this leave group will allow all the process to exit from the multicast. However, if you are trying to access socket which is already closed, you will get a socket exception. And if you're trying to try to read a file which is already which is and you already reach end of the file, then you get IO exception. Okay, so these are the different exceptions. Any doubt till here? Any doubt?
మూడు రోజులు ఉంటుందమ్మా నాకు అర్థం కాదు.
ఏమో నాకేం తెలుసు ఫోన్లో.
Good. Yeah. Now. Just wait. Now.
వాడు ఇంటి పేరు
స్వామి అని ఇంటి పేరు ఏమో తెలియదు. స్వామి సీను. మనీషా బ్యూటీ పార్లర్.
Yeah, this is about the Java API for the multicast communication from one machine to another machine. Okay, now
నాకు
okay, so now what we will see is now we will see another another example, that is socket used for the datagram. So server address and client address. So here for sending a message, you will use a socket AF_INET sock datagram, and for receiving you will create a socket as AF_INET sock datagram 0. And for to bind a client address, client to a server, you will give bind the socket client address. Okay, and send to is the message used for sending, and receive from is a method used in case of this receive, used in case of it receiving the message. And send to is a message used at the sending a message. And socket is used, and we will bind this socket here to server address, and we bind the socket to a client address. Clear? So server address and client address are socket addresses. The server address and client address are socket address. Clear? Any doubt till here? Are you all following? Okay, what is okay, so what about this? And are you following? Everyone is following? Okay, clear. Okay, so if it is clear, then what we can do is now okay. Yeah, so now what we can do is just simply so similarly, if you want to request a connection here, If you want to request a connection, you can make the first bind the server, find the socket to a server address and bind the socket to a bind the socket to a client address, and here write the message and accept the listen to that particular bind to that particular socket and listen to that particular socket, and finally accept the connection from the from the client. Okay, and finally read the message which you got through this method. Read the message which you got through this method. Okay, I hope it is clear to everyone. Okay, simple functions. So about the socket used for this stream. Okay, this is not related to multicast communication. This is related to streams and datagrams. Okay, so general. This is not related to multicast. Okay, so this is related to streams and the TCP. In TCP, what are the functions we use? You will use bind. Just recollect. So you will use bind, listen, and accept. Okay, and connect and write, read and write. So these are the functions which you will use in TCP. And what about this one? And in case of datagrams, okay, so in case of datagrams, that means UDP. So this is for UDP. UDP only two functions, that is only bind and send and receive. Send and receive. So using these four methods, we have done the datagram communication. Okay, so so this is about this. Next is unit 3. So any doubt? Any doubt till here? So shall we proceed to the next topic, that is unit 3? Okay. So we will just give an okay. So unit 3 is about distributed objects and remote invocation. So that is the topic of unit 3. So in this, what we will discuss is in unit 3, we will discuss about distributed objects and remote invocation, and that is okay. So what does that mean? So that means these are the topics which we are going to discuss in unit 3. So first one is we will discuss about introduction to the distributed objects and remote invocation, and the communication between the distributed objects. That is object model, distributed object model, and RMI. RMI will discuss, and implementation of the RMI. RMI stands for remote method invocation. RMI stands for remote method invocation. So this is a concept which brought from Java. This concept brought from Java. Okay, so RMI is the concept, and also you got distributed garbage collection. So we know that garbage collection means to free the memory allocated by the application programmer in a distributed environment. So how we do that, we'll discuss in distributed object model, and also we'll discuss about RPC. This is by Sun. This is by Sun Microsystems. So Sun Microsystems invented a concept called RPC, remote processor call. So both are similar in concept. Both RMI and RPC. So both are similar in concept. One is One is in Java, purely Java, object oriented, and second one is it is in Unix platforms. Okay, RPC. Okay, it is in Unix platform, and RMI is in Java platform. Okay, that is the only difference. Okay, and finally we will case study the Java RMI, and we will also discuss events and notifications. What are the different events and notifications which will occur in the while distributed communication is going on. Okay, so entire thing is about two things only: RMI and RPC important, and remaining things also distributed garbage collection also important. So finally, we will get a overview of how a distributed object model will work. Okay, that is about the essence of this. That is about the essence of this unit 3. Okay, so distributed object model and distributed object model and okay. So that's what. So that is what we are going to discuss in the next class. Okay. So probably if you have any doubts then you can ask for time being. Otherwise, we can start the third unit. The first one is introduction to the remote object invocation, and the first topic is communication between the distributed objects. Communication between the distributed objects. So that we will discuss now. So while discussing the communication between the object, so first there is an introduction. So what is an object model? What is an object model? So object model is object model, distributed object model, distributed object model, design issues for the RMI. So what is this? So we will discuss about these things. So first one is what is a remote what is a remote object reference? What is a remote object reference? Okay, and what is an interface? So if you know that, then it is easy for you to proceed further. So most modern programming language, what you will do is provide a means for communicating between provide a means for organizing program as a modules and functional C main functions. So that they can communicate with one another. Okay, so communication between modules can be by means of procedure calls. Okay, so module ante ikkada project module ante. Okay, module ante function kaadu, project module lo functions untai. Clear? So how these communication happen between the modules is either we can directly access the variables in another module or simply do the function call the function present in that module here. Okay, clear? So there are two ways: either you can directly access the variables or you can make a function call. So in order to control the possible interaction between modules, an explicit interface is defined for each module. Interface is defined for each module. So what is an interface? Okay, so the interface of a module specifies the procedures and variables that can be accessed from other modules. Just only we have thought. That means two modules can communicate by method invocation or by calling them method invocation or by accessing the variables. So there are two ways. So okay. Madam. Okay, madam. Okay, madam. Okay. So how this communication is happening between the two modules? So we can have a communication between the modules just by not just by seeing we can access the communication between the modules either by procedures that exist in the modules. Simply call the procedure present in one module in another module, and also by accessing the variables in the other module. So there are two ways of accessing the communication. Okay, clear? So this is the way. And now, so the so how it is specified? The interface specifies the modules and the variables present in the other module. So modules are implemented so as to hide all the information about them except that which is available through its interface. Clear? So as long as its interface remains the same, the implementation may be changed without affecting the user of the module. Okay, here the interface plays a role. So what is interface? Interface means the module, the procedures which is present in the other module, and also the variables present in the other module. Okay, variables present in the other module. So that is about this interface. And what about interface in a distributed system? So in a distributed program, the modules can run in separate process. The modules can run in separate process, and it is not possible for a module running in one process to access the variables in a module in another process. That is what the distributed program here means. Okay, clear? So in a distributed program, the modules can run in separate programs, and okay, so it is it is not possible for a module running in one process to access the variable other module in another process. Why? Because the program is distributed, because the modules can run in separate process, not in a single process. So that is the reason why, therefore, the interface of a module that is intended for RPC RMI cannot specify direct access to the variables. It cannot specify the direct access to the variables either in the RMI or in the RPC. In these two, so the variables cannot the distributed, because it is a distributed normal interface and distributed interface, both are different. In normal interface, we can access the procedures present in other modules. We can also call the functions present in other modules. Whereas in case of distributed, it is not at all possible. It is not at all possible. Okay. So clear? Any doubt? Okay. So how to access the variables and functions then? So core by ideal we have seen in unit 2. So interface contains the different modules present in the the interface contains different procedures present in a module, and also it contains the variables present in a module. Okay, so that's it. An announcement. So 9:40, after 9:40, you have to log in into GoToMeeting. Okay, this is an instruction from for today. So A and B combined.